We're at a weed festival right now. You guys want to get high with me?
Let's do.
All right. I just want to start things off by smoking a little joint with you guys. It's an honor to be sitting with you right now to have this panel discussion. I think this is perhaps one of the coolest things to ever happen in Maine. So my first question for you guys, this is a pretty good one. How do you utilize cannabis as a medium for creativity and inspiration? Or in general, how does a plant benefit your life? Grab any mic you want. We'll hot potato this one, whoever wants to take it.
I'll start. Hey, what up, everybody? How does the plant benefit your life? Well, Beef, how does it benefit your life? Well, for me personally, it's therapeutic. It was one of those things where when I was younger, I just liked to get high. And when I got older, I realized why that was. And people used to say that it was medicinal, and I didn't understand what that really meant when I was a kid. But as I got a greater sense of what it's like to be a human being in this world and all of the different things that you go through in life, what I've discovered later on was that, you know, pot heals for me. You know, I about the time I was 14 years old, I discovered it, and ever since then, I feel like I've been in a pretty fucking good mood.
Definitely for me too, it really improves my mood all the time. How about any of you guys? Weigh in on this.
Well, cannabis has been part of human evolution, I think, from the dawn of civilization. It's among the first, if not the first, cultivated plant. And this is discovered on pottery shards that are left in, what was that? Over in China, basically. And so it's ancient, and its diffusion has been continuous. Now we're in Maine. So this is the march of a plant that is trying to heal humans, that has so many gifts, it's astonishing. And so it is basically a creative gift in itself as a plant. It reinvents itself, every plant, you know, and every one has an individual thumbprint and a stink. It has, oh my God, this one smells like this one like this. They're different. They're right next to each other. This is incredible. So it's a very human-like plant. If you grow some, it actually is like a pet. It loves you. It wants you to have what you want. So it gives you more of what it is. So a lot of growers have this uncanny kind of magical love relationship with their plant, and that is bringing people back to farming and back to understanding purity and organics and things like this in a way that a lot of the farmers have understood for hundreds and hundreds of years, and maybe lost track of it when we got super industrialized. But I think that now the sacramental cat is out of the bag.
Very, very true. Very well said. Anybody, you guys want to weigh on that some more?
I'd like to bring up that for me, cannabis, the effect of cannabis, the peaceful effect of cannabis has helped me to be a better wife, to be a better businesswoman, to be a better artist, to be a better mother. I did want to, what really came up for me was the effect of parenting and how much it improved our relationship with our one and only daughter, you know, all through the years. So that it's just, you know, but I have to say that with a pause, that you don't want to push it on them. They have to want to and be ready, and really should be initiated by their own peers, not by you, in most cases. in most cases. But look, I mean, in France, the children drink wine, so, you know. Anyway, I can't be judgmental, but that was not my choice. It was her choice, and then it was so easy after that. So.
Speaking of motherhood, there are a lot of parents right now whose children may be going through severe conditions, and they don't have safe access to cannabis oil and concentrates like many of us do in legal states. Do you have any advice for parents that they should take to get their children this medicine?
Migrate to a safe state.
Migrate to a safe state. It's really the best answer.
It's the only choice when you can't get a supplier who's a golden-hearted saint who will put you on their mailing list. Now, there are a handful. There are some people around the world who are some of the largest medical suppliers, and they will, for free, put you into the program if you're proven to be like this. So if you start to investigate some of the medical suppliers from other countries, you know, you may be able to, you know, tap into an already existing network that is really trying just to help people, because they're part of the greatest nation on earth, the Kanaba Nation.
Yeah. Kanaba Nation, I like that.
Yeah.
A lot.
What was your first question, man?
The actual first question that I did ask was, how do you utilize cannabis as a medium for creativity and inspiration, in specifically acting and being you as such an awesome person?
Man, that's a tough one. Well, I mean, I'll go back. Who here has ever mowed a lawn? Okay. Who here's ever mowed a lawn high? Way more fun. I can mow a lawn 30 seconds quicker in Sunnyvale if I hit the honey bong. And I don't know, Ricky's dope's pretty good, but I've smoked some shit here at the Kind Mind campout, for frig's sakes. I don't even know who I am anymore. But if you don't like mowing lawns, smoke a bit of weed, wear steel toes, and you'll have a safe experience, and that'll be good. And what was the second part of the question?
That was really it.
Something about making your life better? Or?
Yeah, making your life better. How does it
I
benefit
feel
your life?
that the lawns look better because I was high. And if a blade of grass is a little bit longer than the others, who gives a frick? It doesn't matter, because we're all meant to be happy, right, folks? All right, so
cheers to
the end of that question.
Yeah, well, I gotta say something about that too. It's like, in this life, there's literally so many things you can think about. Well, are we getting some feedback? Or is that just me? All right.
Dude, you sound really stoned.
Yeah, dude, I'm really fucking stoned, dude. There's so much weed here. Anyways, in this life, there's like so many fucking things to think about. So it's like, you can like choose what you're gonna think about and what you're not gonna think about. And if you blaze, you can think about whatever you want to. And it makes it super fucking tight. So I rock with that.
Damn right. Supercilious, how about you? When it comes to making new music,
That was beautiful.
touring on the road, how does cannabis get you through, man?
Well, I think Pipus was actually touching on that a bit, and I think everyone was touching on that a bit in terms of even the lawnmower, in that I use cannabis in a way to sort of create or at least distort time. And when you're sitting in a room focusing on one thing for hours and hours on end, something you definitely need to not be concerned with that much is this linear movement of time, because you need to be working on what you need to be in the present, and it helps with that. I would say, it helps you zone dramatically, and I think most people, if they're not attending to that power, that's how you end up on the couch all day. But so you end up focusing on being on.
You're so
being
right.
on the
Like
couch.
Ricky, he's a dick if he smokes the 6 paper joints too much. So don't be a dick on the weed. Mow a lawn.
Or you'll be an extra dick.
Yeah, mow
That brings me to my next question right now. All that talk about creativity. Alex, Allison, you guys are doing something really, really creative right now, monumental in New York. Entheon? Can we talk a little bit about Entheon, its purpose, and you transforming 1882 Carriage House into a visionary art sanctuary?
Well, we come to you from the land of Cosm in the Hudson Valley of New York. And there's a little paradise patch of 40 acres with 6 buildings and a barn. And you can come there and visit us on any full moon, and you will see us there having a gathering to, pray, basically, for a temple of visionary art, which is what we're building. And it's called Entheon. And that was the carriage house you were talking about. It's an 1882 carriage house. We're transforming it into a 12,000 square foot, space for visionary art. So we're really excited about it, and it's really coming along. And we're retargeting and retargeting the opening, but that's the definition of building, isn't it? So anyway, we're now retargeting the opening of Entheon for Bicycle Day, which falls in 2019, falls on a full moon.
That's awesome.
The April full moon. This is the first time that's happened, because we've been doing Bicycle Day in San Francisco for over a dozen years. And we're not going because we never miss a full moon at Cosm. So if you ever come, any full moon, check out cosm.org and see whether we're having a full moon, and you'll find us there. And we do all the celestial events too, so just check out what's going on if you come down around the Hudson Valley of New York, because that's where we are doing art and music. And we do Art Church, which is basically an experiment about art as a spiritual practice. We all make art together.
Sounds like a
silently.
family.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, well, we feel like a lot of the Sacramento people are the people that we call the love tribe. Basically, that they've seen beyond the boundaries of nations and race and religion, and they try to get down to the realities of life. And part of that is being able to have cognitive liberty, being able to have the right to alter your consciousness in whatever way that doesn't hurt anyone, and that can be guaranteed as much safety as possible, actually. And so we feel that the mystical experience it's basically the primary religious experience. And so we felt like in the marketplace of art, there was not quite a sacred place for art. And so what if you had an art church?
Sounds genius.
And so, there's a lot of mock churches and stuff like that are kind of like art, very sophisticated art churches and stuff. But we actually met God, and she's beautiful. And so, what then? If you do believe that there's a spiritual reality, and a lot of psychedelophiles have discovered that by bumping into a mystical experience. And so, finding the divine.
Finding divine makes people want to come together.
Exactly.
It makes them want to get
Very
together. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Because we started full moon ceremonies January 2003, and we're about to have our 197th consecutive in an unbroken chain of full moon ceremonies. So if you want to know where the others are, if you want to find the others, you say, I don't know, I'm living out in the middle of nowhere and I need to find the others. Start a full moon gathering and invite your best friends and the people that you know that can have something to contribute, like music, poetry, wisdom, and you'll find the others. They want to gather because they've had this experience.
Have a purpose too. See, the building of a sacred space is just a classic routine that communities who are spiritually connected in some way have always done. I mean, for thousands and thousands of years, people have done that. So why not us? Why not the love tribe, that's connected via the medicine? And by the way, this magical medicine that has found its way into every continent now, and it is such a healing force that it's, I think, leading a kind of revolution of peace throughout the world by trying to, if you look at the statistics, it's not just a conjecture, it's actually science. If you look at the different states that show that suicide rates are down, car accident rates are down, high school smoking of cannabis is down.
That's fascinating to
The
see.
grown-ups are doing it. It's not so cool anymore.
Overdoses are down.
I was gonna say
Over-
opioid deaths.
Yeah, opioid deaths are down.
Can we
in
talk a
big
little
way.
bit about the elephant in the room? This was one of my questions that I wanted to discuss with you guys. I've had friends pass away from opioids. My own father used opioids my whole life. How do you feel cannabis can help people who are suffering this epidemic right now?
I think something that you guys are going to see here in Maine in the next couple of years is really interesting. I live in Colorado, and something that's awesome about being in a state where pot has been legal for almost a decade is that they have scientists that don't have to be in the closet, and they can work out in the open doing research and developing these really, really powerful cures. And you do enough research and try some of this really high potent CBD stuff, you realize that the reason why cannabis was illegal in the first place is not because a couple of teenagers figured out how to giggle off of it. It's because that shit will replace most of your medicine cabinet.
And now that we have cannabis concentrates, which has taken the whole entire world by storm. What do you guys think about cannabis concentrates?
I'd just like to say something about the opiates and how they could be helped by cannabis. The doctors that prescribe them did prescribe them so freely and are now really under a lot more scrutiny, but they prescribe them freely, but they don't prescribe how to get off them. And Alex and I had a terrible accident about 5 years ago or something, and we were on body braces, and we had a whole tour ahead of us, and we were able to get through this with the opiates, okay? It was really great, and sometimes in your life you may need them, but then how do you get off of them? And the way we got off of it was by taking less and less and filling that space with cannabis.
So you
That's
believe
what you
cannabis
do.
is an
You just
exit drug?
spread it out wider and wider. You take less and less every day. You kind of break them in half then. And we, after 10 weeks on opiates, Oxycontin, you're addicted. But they don't
100%.
give you a prescription for how to get off it now. Now you're. So we didn't do that, and I'm really grateful that we didn't do that. But cannabis was really there for us because
Cannabis aided you guys in
we
getting
smoked
your
our way
detox.
through through all of that.
I had almost exactly the same experience there, and my whole entire life I've avoided opiates and all pills like the plague. My parents educated me, and I think when you're talking about opiates, a big part of it and the missing link is that there is not a lot of education. There are a lot of people out there that don't understand that Percocet and Oxycontin and Vicodin are all heroin, and they all lead to a heroin addiction, and that Oxycontin is a very, very strong form of this. And I had shingles a couple of years ago, and I was laying on the couch, and I tried to use cannabis. I thought to myself I could get through this just with cannabis and CBDs and tinctures, and I was just through the kitchen sink at it, and after 4 or 5 days, I could not do it anymore. And I gave in. And you say after a couple weeks on Oxycontin, you're addicted. After 2 days on Percocet, I could feel the physical addiction overcome. And I said to myself, I was like, man, this is how it happens. It's not, it does what they say, addiction does not discriminate. It truly does not discriminate. And I did the same exact thing. After about 3 weeks, I found myself not in pain anymore, but not able to sleep without the opiates, not able to relax, and weaned myself way down. And I've, as well, I would like to say, I did the same exact thing when I wanted to quit smoking cigarettes when I was 23 years old. This is now 22 years ago, and I said, this is not something that I could take with me through my whole life. This has to stop. And I used cannabis to as a harm reduction method. And I think that people overlook sometimes cannabis for harm reduction. When new studies are coming out right now that are proving that cannabis is as effective for pain relief as opiates are in a lot of cases, that the opiates aren't actually solving the pain. They're just addicting people to it. And I think what you're going to see more and more as it's accepted, the medical program where I live in Pennsylvania just is getting a foot. Yesterday, finally, flour was finally approved just yesterday, and they started selling it in Pennsylvania. And to take us back, when we're talking about what people can do who have little kids who don't have access to medicine, one thing you can do is you can be an activist. You can, in the state that you're in, if they don't have medical cannabis, if you're not so fortunate to be from Maine or Massachusetts or Vermont, you have to get out there and use your own voice to push and lobby to have the laws changed. And we did that in Pennsylvania. My friends and I took it upon ourselves to hire a lobbyist and really, really push hard to have the laws changed, because there are people who can't just afford to move to Colorado. They're stuck in Pennsylvania, and they're stuck with a 2-year-old who has epilepsy, who's having 300 seizures a week, and all they need is Charlotte's Web, and it would stop the seizures dead in their tracks. So that's something every single person has an obligation, if they don't live in one of those states, to speak up, to stand up, to write letters. And if you're in a position where you can get a lobbyist, do that. Do everything that you can possibly do to push this forward. And when these dominoes start to fall and the research is approved, they can't research because of the federal laws, but in Pennsylvania, that they are researching. It's one of the things that they used to get the law passed through, was the fact that all of the medical schools in Pennsylvania are going to partner with cannabis companies, and they're going to do the research that needs to get done to prove right now what we don't know exactly about the science, and they've only just discovered the endocannabinoid system in the 1990s, so we're way, way behind on this one. I would just say that as we move forward, they're going to be able to prescribe cannabis in a lot of situations rather than opioids. And we know now from looking back over the 2 years, the damage that happened in the early 2000s when they started pushing OxyContin as a non-addictive pain relief solution. At any rate, you're going to see the opiate deaths continue to decline if we continue to push forward for the cannabis laws. And it has to happen federally, too, for the research.
Speaking on those topics, Mark.
Bonnie, I just wanted to say you have to also think about the businesses in every state that have benefited, and the business in general of the state, the revenue of the state. It's becoming where you don't want to hold your symposium or your conference here or there because they don't. People are choosing those states where cognitive liberty is upheld. So. It's good economically too.
I wanted to
Also, like, if you're like trying to not do pills and your only option is to get like beer, alcohol, or cigs, that's pretty fucked. Like, you should be able to get weed because that can just like make everything more chill and kind of like take your time up rather than that other stuff.
Right here.
Well said.
Yes.
I don't know. I didn't know it was such a big problem. Opie lives in trailer number 40. And he's an idiot. And I didn't realize how far Opie, he's an idiot around everywhere, obviously. And I think these guys know way more than me. Stay away from that Opie idiot and stick to the weed. That's what I think.
All right, guys, we're getting close to wrapping things up here, but I want to talk a little bit more with you right now. For the last 4 or 5 years of my life, I keep referring to this point in time we're in as a Renaissance period. Everybody from chefs to musicians to artists, we're all entrepreneurs. Can you explain a little bit about some of the catalysts for you guys that changed your lives into doing what you love as your passion for a living?
No, wait a minute. Question one more time.
Can you talk a little bit about your passions as becoming an entrepreneur and doing what you love for a living?
I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm just the assistant trailer park supervisor. But someday I hope to get to trailer park supervisor status. And sometimes the shit that goes down in Sunnyvale, you need to have a little hit on a bong. That's all I'm saying. All right? I mean, and if the scallop potatoes are fucked, you say, frig off!
Frig off!
Scallop potatoes are fucked! For sakes. So that's all I have to say. I don't even really know what that French word means.
Crisp is good.
Crisp is good.
I'd like to say something about being an entrepreneur. I'd like to say that cannabis has made many of us more creative, okay? And entrepreneur is just another word for creative, you know?
Creative?
Exactly. And look at how well you've done with it. Seriously. So anyway, you take your passion, whatever it is, whoever you are, your identity, whatever it is, and you turn it into right livelihood. One of the eightfold noble path, let me just say. But anyway, right livelihood, that's what it is. It's a living that you make that makes you feel good about yourself, you know. So anyway, that's what, has always attracted us. So you do a lot of stuff that maybe you don't like so much, but you let that fall away as you're doing more stuff that you do like.
So true.
You have to, they say 80% of your highest impact, highest revenue producing activities should be the things that you love.
And here I
Right?
am talking to you
Right
guys at
on.
a cannabis festival.
Yeah, we love you too.
Much love. I wanted to close things out a little bit, having a little bit of fun. Can we talk about your most memorable experiences with cannabis? I know it's going to take a little bit of a thought because there's probably a lot of them. Most memorable, most funny?
One of the most memorable, okay, was the first Cannabis Cup that we got invited to. It was back in 1995, and you could only hold the Cannabis Cup over in Amsterdam, you know, where they really didn't give a shit. They kind of just looked the other way. It wasn't really legal, but it wasn't really illegal. So, at any rate, and the Dutch were very reasonable people, and so they went to the smoke shop and they got some mushrooms too, and everything was very cool. It was just cool. Exactly. And so we went over there, and it was a world we had never seen. We went to Cannabis Castle, which was the home of the great Arjan, I believe.
They had
Legendary.
topless women,
Yes.
seriously, with trays, like in the story of O. You know, they had like the silver trays with cannabis on there that you could just like take
Gotta say,
one.
rest in peace, Franco Loja, just by
Yeah.
mentioning Arjun.
And we got to paint, like, I did my first Cannabis Cup poster for High Times for that one, and I did a painting of the Cannabis Goddess that was based on Allison. Now,
Thank you.
I love that
and
painting
we
so
thought-
much.
So honored, really. I mean, it is
Canabia.
from a long time
yeah.
ago.
And so then when we got over there, we painted a goddess that so we wouldn't be the nude ones on stage, but could be the dignified judges.
We were
Only
the judges.
quite.
We were actually
Hi.
judging. I just want to say we actually really judged 2 Cannabis Cups in Amsterdam. And the judging is a very interesting process, which is very mysterious here. But over there, it was pretty much, you know, it was transparent. And I think it's important for the trade to figure out how, but you know, the truth of it is everything is measured with the THC and the CBD and everything in between. So you don't really, the only thing you're judging really is the pleasure of it, I suppose, and it's flower or dabs, you know. But there's a way of judging, and I'll tell you how I think it should be, just right now,
Please.
just really quick. Okay, I think it should be judged this way. If you're gonna have 40 entries, which we had like a bag of like, you know, like maybe 52 entries, okay? Which we got on the way over, so we did our best to try as many as we could on the way over. You know. we got about 4, okay? We liked 2 of them the best. But anyway, so here's the way. 40, you got 4, yeah, there it is. That's our winner from our car over here. If you got 40 entries, you get them to the judges 40 days in advance. And every day, and you make a chart, you give them the chart just to make it easier for them. And every day, first bong hit of the day is that flower,
I like
okay?
that. That sounds
you
like a good
smell
structure.
it, you look at it, you squeeze it, you put it in the pipe, first hit of the day. Just one. Because Because you got to compare them all. Seriously.
I wonder what Terrence McKenna would say if he was sitting up here talking
Why?
about this with us.
Why?
right
What do
now.
you think he would say?
I think he would talk
I
about
think
the
a
dosing.
day it'd probably be fine. A day is a good dry out, especially if you are giving it like really a lot of like, hey, I'm just gonna take it one toke. I'm gonna give it
Well, what
like an
about edibles,
hour,
guys?
and then I'm gonna do it like 3 tokes. You know, and then throughout the day, you know, you could play
But then
with
you'd have
it.
to make notes, and the notes would include categories like how creative were you, how much did you have sexual thoughts, how much did you feel sleepy, how much did you want to just recline on the couch and play video games.
I love
You know,
it.
there would be like a list of questions, a questionnaire for each day. How did it affect you? And then, you know, so anyway, it would be a study where you could actually figure that out.
How fast you mowed the lawn.
Right, how fast did you mow the lawn?
Creatively.
Yo,
creative.
I have a really good first weed story.
Send it. I want to hear it.
So I have this French exchange student. His name was Quentin, and we were walking through the woods in my old neighborhood, and we were smoking a joint. There might have been a little bit of tobacco in it at the time. I don't know how to do it in Europe still, but so we're walking through these woods, and all of a sudden, I'm getting high for the first time, but I'm also feeling a lot of pain. And I guess, I don't know if we smoked them out, I don't know if we stepped on them, but we alerted a beehive, and they came, and I got a shitload of bee stings, and it hurt, really, really hurt, and I took a bath and felt a little bit better. But it didn't scare me off from weed, though, it just made me want to do it again.
I love it. We're almost out of time right now. With that being said, I did want to give one person the opportunity from the crowd to come up and ask these guys a question. If you'd like to raise your hands, I'll pick someone freely. My man right here. Make it a good question, please. Please stand. State your name and your question.
What's up? My name is Beef. I design the jerseys. Go check them out. Who's your favorite person you've ever smoked weed with? Celebrity or otherwise?
My wife. She's right over here.
Mr. Leahy. I love you, Mr. Leahy.
Yeah, rest in peace, Leahy.
Alex and then Zena. There's no getting around that. You know, Alex and then Zena.
Okay,
You know,
but
you
then
every day, and Zena
after-
whenever we get a chance.
After that, like when we smoked like with the Thurmans, like
that was good.
Robert Thurman and Nana Thurman. They're the mom and dad of Uma Thurman, if you have ever heard of her. But
But why
at
did
any
you
rate,
like smoking with them?
because
he's such a wise
they are
guy.
already very high and very studied in Tibetan Buddhism, which is one of our favorite practices as well. So these are serious spiritual practitioners who also like to relax with some good weed and imagine creative ideas about their next project, you know.
That's right. I
So,
love them. That was very
you know, and that's just like any of us and like anybody.
Well, Nana was married to Timothy there before. But
Well,
she,
that's
she,
true,
She picked the
too.
right man in Robert Thurman, exactly.
Well, Robert Thurman was the mad monk of Millbrook when they all lived at Millbrook, Timothy Leary and Richard Alpert, who later became Ram Dass, and all
History
that.
lesson.
Nana was there
Guys.
too.
And Nana was there too, married to Tim.
That's awesome.
She was a fashion model, and he was the dashing psychedelophile who was, you know, writing books like Start Your Own Religion.
I love it.
You know, so his place was very close by. And the other very weird thing I just have to say, where we are in the Hudson Valley, and his place is Millbrook, we're in Wappinger, and right within like a couple miles walk, there is an LSD chapel. Really? It was built in the 1870s, and it's ELLESSDEE. LSD Chapel. So we're not the first. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that little brief history lesson. For those of you who may have never heard of some of those names, I really do suggest you look them up. They are some of the brightest men to ever live, really, and they are from our area, New England in general. So, you guys ready to wrap this up?
Spongo too.
Spongo too?
That's
another one.
I actually didn't say who I smoked or who my favorite person to smoke weed with was. So I've smoked weed with a lot of people, and I pretty much enjoyed it every time. But out of all of them, my favorite, he didn't smoke. I was smoking, and he's a chameleon. His name's Weed Chameleon. He's my pet chameleon. I fucking love him. He's the best person to smoke with. I swear to God.
Guys, we're in a legal state right now. Not everyone is this privileged across the country. Mark here is doing some really, really awesome things right now in our communities. I want to let him take a moment to talk to you guys about it, and maybe we can all make an impact together to keep changing this wide perspective and stigma about cannabis.
And also, I just want to say, even if you're in a legal state, it doesn't really matter. You're not off the hook on this, because your representatives in these legal states are not voting nationally to do away with the federal cannabis prohibition. They're not doing the job that they need to do. So even though the state representatives or the people of the state voted it in, whether you're in a state like me, a Commonwealth, where it's all done by legislation, or whether you're in one of the votes where it's stated, where it was voted in by the people, the bottom line is that you need to know where your representatives stand on all of the different issues related to cannabis, because, okay, here in Maine, you're in a legal state, but federally, again, it's not legal. So what we did at Headcount, which is my voter registration organization, we started a new initiative called the Cannabis Voter Project, and the website is let me get it right. It's cannabisinfo.org, or it's here it is. I got it. Cannabisvoter.info. We just launched it. And if you go to cannabisvoter.info and you put in your zip code, it's going to bring up all of your representatives, and federally and your state representatives, and it's going to tell you where they stand. It's going to tell you where they vote on all cannabis issues. There's 7 major cannabis issues, all the way from industrialized hemp to full legalization for recreational use. And I promise you, if you go on here and you check out who your representatives are, you're going to be surprised about how some of them vote. I was pleased to go on and see that my representative outside of Philadelphia and Marion Station, where I live, I was pleased to see that he's voting yes on all 7 major issues for legalization, straight through to recreational legalization. But you need to know, because when we go to the polls this November, and I assume that everybody is registered to vote already, and that we're all going to go to the polls, you need to know where these people stand on these cannabis issues, because you may or may not be voting your interest on this. So we're putting this information out there, cannabisvoter.info.
Stay informed and fight for your rights, guys. Thank you so much for sitting with me on this panel discussion.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
Where Alex and I are going over to the COSM booth, and we are going to be signing things for the next